What is the most Michael Scott thing your boss has ever done? He put a fake severed head in my bottom desk drawer and watched me from the corner of the room to see if it scared me. I just looked up, in a very Jim way, and blinked a few times and then closed the drawer. The look on his face was pure defeat. He was actually upset it didn't scare me, like that's all he thought about the night before and I completely ruined his day. To boost morale, he put out a smile box. It was a cardboard box filled with $100 bills. People were allowed to take $1, but they had to stand there and smile for 60 seconds. He believed this would make people happier. The box was empty in a matter of hours. Everyone was still miserable. The box disappeared the next day. This one actually makes me sad. Nothing really crazy, but I had a boss that had everyone introduce themselves before a meeting by stating their name, their position and where they were on the 11th of September. After 30 people, it got really depressing. My name is Steve Buscemi and I was a firefighter. Till. Edit, why would you gild this? Are you mad? My former boss just got a promotion and left our workplace. He bought himself a going-away full-sized sheet cake, 18 inches by 24 inches, 80 servings. He cut off a small corner at his going-away party and then proceeded to close the cake box and take home the other 79 servings instead of sharing any of it with anyone. He was a really good boss and I will miss him, but that was pretty typical of him too. Well, that takes the cake. Told the most inappropriate joke to me at work, in front of about 10 people. What do you call nuts on your chest? Chestnuts. What do you call nuts on a wall? Walnuts. What do you call nuts on your chin? I don't know. A dick in your mouth. Awkwardness throughout the whole room ensues. I work in a kitchen and this joke would be highly appreciated. Last week, in fact, I told this one to my boss. What is the difference between jam and jelly? I can't jelly my cock into your ass. It's extra funny because I am a tiny 20-year-old girl and he is a big old man. My fav joke like that in the kitchen, what's the difference between a chickpea and a lentil? I didn't pay $300 to have a lentil on my face. My former boss never had me do any work-related work. I have booked him dancing lessons, drove around the state looking for soup that didn't exist, created schedules for the basketball team he coached, shopped for ridiculous things for him, etc. It was a great job to have during college, but I didn't learn a damn thing except for how to deal with a pain in the ass lol. He also would tell me to tell clients he was at meetings but really he was at sporting events or some other fun thing. The man never worked. Are you Pam? This guy's job was very much season 1, 2, 3 Ryan. Someone from corporate came in to teach us on racism, sexual harassment, etc. My boss thought it would be a good idea to interrupt the presentation and ask us for personal testimonies of time when we felt uncomfortable in the workplace. When no one answered, she called out a co-worker and asked how she felt that everyone thought she was fat and makes fun of her when she comes back with fast food every day for lunch. The co-worker of mine just sat there and started to cry. My boss was like, well, I thought she knew, and proceeded to point out all the office gossip and what everyone felt about each other. Gathered everyone in the office kitchen to demonstrate exactly how he liked his coffee made, but pitched it as if he was letting everyone in on the secret to making the perfect coffee and we'd all be thankful to him later. He proceeds to make a completely fucking normal instant coffee in pretty much the only way it's possible to make it, greater than perfect cup. Greater than instant coffee. Can I stab him? My boss gave herself an award and proceeded to show it off to everyone higher up than her. Never thought this would be so popular, so here's an edit to add clarification / more information. Without going into specifics, I work for a department at a college / university, and my boss, who is the director of our department, also is the president of a volunteer organization that works in conjunction with higher education for our field. Any obligations for this volunteer organization are to be conducted outside of standard operating hours, yet half of my office, we're small so 3 out of 6 people, spend hours of our work time running this organization in her stead. So basically the award she received was for exceptional and outstanding contributions to volunteer organization. My old boss said if we made a sales goal she would record a rap video specific to us as a prize. Scranton. What? The Electric City. Handed me a stack of applications for the job opening in my department, and said just FYI, the one on top sounds like they're black, so only hire them if you want to be shot. I gave him a look and said seriously? He laughs a bunch and says oh I'm just kidding. They'd stab you. Then when I said you know, my boyfriend's black. He responds really? I would have pictured you with like a librarian or something. Ended up bringing in a gay man to interview for the job, who shook the boss's hand, and later revealed that he was HIV positive. The boss freaked out and went to the doctor to be tested. I work at a Fortune 500 company. In the middle of an important meeting which was based around my boss, she leans over to me and whispers I'm organizing a flash mob for later this year. I want you to be a part of it. My grandfather passed away back in February. I flew back east for the funeral, and when I got back my boss was talking to me to see how everything went and touch base. The extent of the conversation was this. Boss, how was the funeral? Me, about what you'd expect from a funeral. It was a nice service. Boss, did you see the body? Me, yes, boss, ew. When he pages someone over the intercom he instructs them to report to the senior vice president's office instead just saying please come to Gary's office. We have like 20 people that work here. Everyone knows it's him when he starts the page. He likes hearing his own voice and title. He was spelling his name over the phone to someone and when he got to the I in his name he said I, as in, I. I once had a similar incident. I came across H, and for whatever fucking reason, I said, H as in Hitler. There was an awkward pause. I've answered this before, but my old boss once talked to me loudly about how he didn't understand how tampons worked, then when I provided a perfunctory explanation, exclaimed that the only thing women should be sticking up there are penises. This is more something Todd Packer would say. Trying to pick the company health insurance policy so he polls the leadership team for input at an executive all hands. CEO states that we're all young and healthy so no one needs things like dental or optical. Half of our executive team is wearing glasses. He moves on. Invited about 15 people over for a cookout, all of which are SVP'd, and 2 showed up. I fucking hate it when people pull shit like this. You don't wanna go say no. We had a day very similar to Diversity Day. Strikingly close. Shalom. I would like to apply for a loan. He hired some random migrant farm workers to fix an authentic Mexican dinner for our office Christmas party. I grew up working alongside migrant farm workers in the Midwest, detasseling corn. They eat poor people food just like the rest of the working poor in the rural Midwest, so I knew this was going to be hilarious. I was not disappointed when he asked them what a certain delicious cheesy/pasta dish they served us was called, and they answered mac and cheese casserole. He put a large caution, surface is hot, sticker on the denim ed dad but came into my office, shook his fanny at me, and asked what I thought of his safety signage. This may sound like sexual harassment, but just like I can't imagine Michael Scott actually being a predator, I couldn't imagine my boss being one. This reminded me of when Michael wore his ladies' power suit to the office and showed off the backside. It doesn't have any pockets. It's a European cut. I worked for an office supply store with shipping services. My boss was an extremely conservative and professional guy 99.9% of the time. One day we got a suspicious duffel bag returned to sender through the shipping center. We were speculating about what was in it, and he blurts out probably full of dead babies ha ha ha. My boss started dating her boss and they both ended up leaving the company. Is it because of these? / Tell her, I want to squeeze them. It's code. She'll know what it means. Remodeled our break room with a $4,000 fridge, ping pong table, espresso machine, and old arcade. After the red ribbon cutting / party, he announced due to the tight budget, we wouldn't be getting our Christmas bonuses. He told a group of his employees we, as management, have the right to mismanage. Boss wanted to give his tie to one of my co-workers before a meeting to look more professional. The company we were meeting with don't wear ties, our company doesn't wear ties, both companies know this. My co-worker was wearing a lumberjack-style shirt. So my boss wanted him to wear a formal tie with a short-sleeved, lumberjack-style shirt. To look more professional. Moronic boss was urging us to hurry up, we've got to get this done our SVP. He calls Cirque du Soleil, Cirque Soleil. Drives me crazy. One time my boss told an entire room that he had a soft spot for drunk drivers because if it weren't for a drunk driver killing his mother's first husband then he never would have been born. Also, his nickname was a slang term for ejaculating. When one of our clients finally told him what it meant, he refused to stop using it as a nickname, because it was his name first. Really nice guy though, and it was fun to have him as my first boss. Left us with a ton of stories. Insurance agent. We lost an account that had a very long name, which included the word children. During a post-mortem meeting, my boss kept asking why we weren't touching children more often and aggressively. I felt like I was going to break a rib holding in my laughter. I work with colleges across the US and one of our customers is a school for the deaf. One of our newer employees was trying to assist a lady at the deaf school with a technical issue, but because the lady our employee was typing to has been deaf since birth, she left out a lot of words people normally say in sentences. Our employee got confused multiple times and went to my boss explaining his confusion. My boss instructed him to send the deaf school instructions in an email and to have them let us know if it helped resolve their issue or not. My boss then quickly told him not to send the email because the boss wasn't sure if the deaf school had a printer that can print out instructions in Braille. My boss then called the college to see if they had a Braille printer and wondered why no one was answering the phone for about 20 minutes, even left a message asking about the printer. She then stood up, face completely red, and said, "Oh my God, what did I just do?" Edit clarity and words. The CEO called a company-wide meeting with no details provided. We were all to meet in the auditorium for a big announcement. People were fucking freaked out. Like, what the hell is going on? Did he sell the company? Do we have jobs? What the fuck? Everyone shuffles in and the CEO and the half a dozen other execs are at the front of the room. We had a record-breaking year, help yourself to some sodas and cake. Also, I am taking the executive staff to the Bahamas as a reward. We'll be out of the office next week. Weakest round of applause I've ever heard. Slept with a hot plate next to his bed and accidentally stepped on it one morning. I'm my own boss. He deleted the entire company's website by accident. My former boss is a 71-year-old woman and we were on a conference call with our web designer talking about revamping a website. She starts complaining about the layout of the web page and proceeded to take a ruler and started measuring on her monitor, saying that the page is too narrow. There was a long, uncomfortable silence at the other end of the line and it took all the willpower I had to stifle a laugh. Our roles have since reversed, with me being her manager, which has led to much more awkwardness. Thankfully she will be retiring in November. I was told the following in my yearly review. You did everything we asked of you, but not the things we didn't ask of you. It was said in a very critical tone. My old boss knew we were all stressed and overworked, so he thought that the best way to get us to relax was to have a drum circle in the middle of the office while we were all trying to work. He kept trying to get people to join in, even people who were on the phone. Eventually it was just him sitting on the floor hitting bongo drums. Here are a couple things from one boss I had. He would also bring the birthday boy out for lunch and spring for his check anytime someone had a birthday, which was cool. All male IT department, so no need to do he or she. I once asked for a day off by email and he replied cointedly, Three Stooges. It was season 1 to 2 where Michael Scott would do an impression then quietly say who the impression was of. He decided to promote individuals in different sections to team lead. One morning I could see him hovering outside our office while our new team lead gave me some negative feedback that was obviously from my boss, but he didn't want to be the bad guy. Not my boss, but an instructor at a driver improvement course definitely could have used the diversity day lesson. The class was mostly teenagers with speeding tickets, and in the row I was sitting in there was a young black girl, me, a white girl, and then a white boy between us. At one point, the instructor called to the boy and asked which one of us he was going for, the white girl? Or you got jungle fever? Sigh. In a meeting, he zoned out and was staring out the window. Someone asked what we should do for the new hires initiation lunch, and he mindlessly said take her to a field and leave here there. It reminded me of how Michael talked about Toby. Sent me a bouquet of flowers on Secretary's Day. I am a property investment manager. And also a woman. You sound like a very ungrateful secretary. Frequent use of the following terms. Coming down the pipe. That's a moot point. That's a moo point. It's like a cow's opinion, it just doesn't matter. Edit, fixed wording. When I first graduated law school and was working at a firm, they had just required everyone to have a smartphone. There was a meeting for which everyone was told to bring their phones because they were going to teach everyone how to use them. This was mainly for the older attorneys. This one partner, who was probably 75 years old, is late to the meeting, and he yells for his assistant to come into his office. He couldn't figure out how to unplug his phone and bring it to the meeting. He was actually trying to unplug everything from his desk phone and bring it to the smartphone meeting. I love my boss and he's a high school history teacher on weekends. There are also a pair of twin babies that live in our building. Whenever he sees them he picks them up and recites the Gettysburg Address in the hopes that it'll be their first memory. I was a young entry-level employee, and my boss invited me and another guy on my team to a birthday party at his apartment. I was 22, and he must have been about 35. My friend and I went out of obligation with our SOs, and when we got there, it was only us, my boss, and his boyfriend. 6 people. In his small Manhattan apartment. We barely knew each other. He put dinner in the oven to cook about 45 minutes after we got there, so the whole affair lasted hours. It was excruciating. The whole thing was pretty similar to an actual Office episode, but it happened a few years earlier. We were hiring 2 new employees, one Indian and one Chinese. He came by and asked us loudly, in front of several people, where my Asians at? When do they start? During our all-hands town hall-esque meeting on my birthday, played Beyoncé's Single Ladies and gave me a ring pop. During the meeting, I was eating the ring pop, and he said, "Wow, look at you really sucking on that thing. It's kind of distracting, every time I look over there you're just sucking away." He's a male in his 50s, I'm a 23-year-old female. We hired an Indian person whose name is quite long and intricate, to Americans at least. She goes by a shortened version of this name. Manager attempted to read her full name in an exaggeratedly clunky fashion, then proclaimed, whatever. It doesn't quite fit, but one week he claimed Friday was going to be Seersucker Friday. Of course, no one but him wore seersucker, but instead of being awkward, he fucking owned it with the exact right combination of self-deprecating humor and cockiness. By the end of the day, we were all a little jealous. My dad's boss once said he would give all employees something to boost encouragement in the workplace. They all got gamma baseball hats with Guitar Done written on them. Halloween party. Blackface and a Rasta wig. We had 2 black employees but thankfully neither of them went. called me in the middle of the night, says he got stuck out in Vegas, if I could go pick him up, about a 400-mile drive. I said that's fine, but he had to pay for gas. So I start getting ready, called me back, said he just wanted to check if I had his back, and was at home, mind you this was about 1 in the morning. Didn't complain as he gave me a 100 gas card for bothering me. Liked what you saw? Hit like, subscribe and the bell icon for more crazy Reddit content.